In this episode, my guest is Alexandra Lutchman, head of product at Tomorrow, a startup that is literally banking on Bitcoin and building a solution to enable people to send and receive Bitcoin and convert it to cash if they choose. We explored the innovation of Bitcoin and why it's still revolutionary 12 years after its launch, the challenges of introducing emerging technologies, especially in the financial sector, and how crypto can address some of the largest problems we face in society to enable a better future. Enjoy.
Absolutely. Oh, interesting. Like, that's a good question. So my name is Alexandra. I am a poli-sci grad turned tech entrepreneur. Have been in the space of technology all the way from wearable IoT to now Bitcoin. And I'm very, very passionate about bringing these technologies in a useful way to the world. And I can start wherever we are. Very interested in looking at how technologies change communities, how it impacts government, how it impacts the way people live their day-to-day lives. And excited to bring people onto these new tech in a way that they're very excited, they're not afraid, and they're getting good use from it.
You mentioned you're a poli sci grad. How did you make the jump from poli sci to tech? How did you make it and why did you make it?
That's a good question. So I originally the goal was to go work at the UN. So I was like, all right, government want to have an impact. Let me go work at United Nations. How can you go wrong there? And was on track to do a law degree, poli sci down to law. I sat down with a few lawyer friends. I saw how much reading they had to do and how much due diligence, and I was like, this looks fun for you, but I definitely want to be a creator. I definitely want to be somebody who creates the things and comes and says, "Can you paper it up for me?" I appreciate and love lawyers for all the things that they do, but it wasn't for me. And I was like, well, what do you do with poli sci? You talk a lot and you think about government quite a bit. So what, how can I bring, especially my interest into technology, what, started way back when the internet was, YouTube and MySpace. How can I bring that to the forefront and where can I go from there? So poli sci to tech because reading a lot of legal textbooks is not for me.
Got you. Got you. And so then how did you find your way into the world of finance and technology?
So both my mom and dad are from Trinidad and Tobago, and then moving up here, I became first gen student, figuring out university, how to get in, how to finance myself, have a job, work full time, and go to school. Uh, I always wondered, is there a better way? Is there an easier way for somebody like myself to just understand the system and what does that look like? Um, I was brought in not quite on purpose because definitely my journey started tech first and then finance, but because I was looking at Bitcoin, because I was looking at this technology, I they almost went hand in hand, and I was like, okay, there is a better way here. There is, a new technology that not everyone quite understands that impacts finance and impacts cross-border finance. This is something that I need to do, or at least understand, and then move forward from there.
Hmm. So you're working on a new project called Tomorrow.
Yes.
What can you share about that? And what is it all about? Because I know it's about Bitcoin, but your website is pretty secretive, which is exciting. And
Yeah.
I'd love to know a bit more if you can share on the show.
Absolutely. I'm very, very happy to. The Tomorrow app, actually, I hinted at earlier, is going to be doing with Bitcoin and cross-border banking. So the fundamental base is that I believe, and my team believes, that Bitcoin is sound money. So it is money that, as volatile as it is today, in the long term, it is going to be something that we can transact with and use in the same way that we use fiat money. The trick today is that it's money without a bank. And how do we use something that doesn't offer those same similar services that we have with your regular TD, RBC, whatever they may be. And so we thought to ourselves, well, in order for somebody to jump onto Bitcoin and not really take that trader where it's money in, it goes up. I'm really excited and I take that cash out, but rather it's savings that I want to put in there. And whether it goes up or down, it doesn't really matter because long term, this is something that I own. Um, you know, Bitcoin, I can go on about Bitcoin, but it's something that I own and will forever own, and it will stay the same amount, right? 21 million that is in Bitcoin. How can I have an in? It's very weird to download a wallet and like write down 12 words. All of it is just very technical at the time where people are interested. It is useful for them, but they just can't quite take that jump. So tomorrow, first and foremost is, and I don't like to say that it is a bank, but it does bank-like things, which is going to be saving and sending to your friends and family. Where I can auto buy Bitcoin, it goes into a wallet that I completely own, and I'm able to just hold it there. And I understand what that means by holding it. But we're first launching with an account that is called the cash account. And the cash account is really exciting because it's almost like Venmo meets Western Union. So, like I mentioned before, cross-border banking is something, remittances is something that we've seen and it's something that I've experienced. So, as my co-founder, and it's very expensive to do. But Bitcoin, it runs on the internet, and the internet doesn't really need to go cross-border; it's borderless. So, why can't we build something, a bank that does exactly that? And when I say Venmo, it's because I can send it to a username. So I'm no longer sending it to a wallet. I'm not taking like a bunch of numbers and letters, and I'm sending it to my friend or my family. I'm celebrating that my niece or nephew back home has graduated, and I want to send a just a congratulatory gift because here in Canada and majority of my family back home, I can't participate in those things in the same way. So launching with what we call the cash account, name pending, and that is going to be something that people in Trinidad and then as we continue to launch can download, and then here as well in Canada, and I can transact with them back and forth on Bitcoin Rails. I'm going to go a little bit longer because there's something more exciting, and a lot of people have this question, which is, okay, cool, I have the Bitcoin in my account, but I need this money to use in my day to day. Like, what am I going to do? And we've seen a lot of companies take different steps in solving this issue. Of course, the first and foremost is connect to your bank account. So sell my Bitcoin, send it to my bank account. That's something that we have here in Canada, and it's very easy for us to do. In these emerging countries, so Trinidad, Jamaica, Latin America, even countries in Africa, they don't quite have those luxuries. The banks aren't able to offer that for whatever reason. It could just be they don't have the technology or they're not comfortable with Bitcoin. Um, but there is fiat, there is cash, and I mean like paper money. So what is it to have an app, a mobile app, but then have a physical terminal or ATM that I can take cash out through Bitcoin on my own? So Tomorrow is not only a mobile app that offers a really great bank-like experience for Bitcoin, but there's also physical infrastructure, which we can take out. I can sell my Bitcoin and take out local dollars. So it could be, I mean, if there's one here, the Canadian dollar, but likely in Trinidad, you take out the Trinidadian dollar, um, and spend it as I need. And so that gives me, and especially an experience that I think a lot of people moving from these Caribbean countries here to Canada is when they send money back home to support their family, they're no longer paying crazy fees to send it over, but the family still has the option or the choice to either keep it in Bitcoin as their savings, which is what I would love for them to do, or if they need it now, which they still need that option to take it out in cash and use it as is. That is Tomorrow in a nutshell. There's a lot more, of course, as we like build and grow and we see that people love the app because that's what I'm really hoping. But launching with that and really, focusing on the Bitcoiners of tomorrow, hence the name.
I think in Canada or in North America, if you don't have family outside of North America, you might be like, oh, the banking system that we have it's simple, it's easy. I can just
Yeah,
e-transfer my money and
absolutely.
the recipient will easily get it. Uh, but if you have that experience of needing to send money outside of Canada to other countries, you realize that the system is a little complex. It is very expensive. And options like Bitcoin and just crypto in general become a
Mhm.
lot more attractive because now you're reducing the amount of intermediaries and you can easily send any amount to any recipient anywhere in the world. And I think that that's a huge use case and a really important one that you're working on. So I'm really excited to see how this plays out. And it's also a really interesting innovation to add the physical ATM to convert your Bitcoin into cash because
Right.
you're right, not every merchant in those nations may be comfortable accepting Bitcoin. They may not understand it, so it's going to take a while before all shops are able to accept cryptocurrencies. So to be able to convert that to cash is hugely important. Why did that idea? Why did you decide that that was worthwhile pursuing?
Yeah. On a note on your thing, we call it dollar privilege. Just so you have a new term for yourself, which is dollar privilege is just like here in Canada, the US and Europe. Banks are great. Dollar doesn't really move that much, so dollar privilege. But
Never heard that.
Um,
Thank you. Yeah.
I think I made it up. I feel like I kind of hope I made it up. I don't know for sure, but that would be exciting if I did. Tomorrow came very personal stories about paying, not myself, but my co-founder paying medical bills back home and unable to pay US to pay his family's medical bills because the bank said, sorry, you can take out $200 of USD a day because we're in Trinidad and there's capital control. So it came from a very core personal, I need to pay for, I mean, his mom's medical bills, a matter of life and death. And the bank teller was just blank faced, no. And we were in Bitcoin before, so we had a previous company. So of course we're a little bit biased here, but we were like, there has to be a better way. People should be able to do what they need with their money, without, these huge, I mean, I would say infrastructure or institutions just telling you how it is, no matter what your circumstances. So the idea of self-sovereignty, and these are really popular words in Bitcoin, but the idea that you can do what you want with your money and you completely own it is very, very important to us. Um, and and how do we make, and we had friends and family, how do we make the Bitcoin experience really easy so that they're not running into these problems in the future, or if they're ever going to run into something like this, their life savings is not in a bank that is telling them, sorry, you can't access it, but it's a Bitcoin, which is, they have it in a cold wallet, it's completely stored, and they're very comfortable with it, and then they can use it as needed. So I would say that it was a difficult time, but something really great came out of it that we see, a lot of people can benefit.
Why Bitcoin? Like there are so many cryptocurrencies, there are even stable coins that are already stable in most cases. So
Right.
why did you choose that Bitcoin was the currency of choice? And what is the beauty that you see in Bitcoin that the other cryptocurrencies don't have?
Absolutely. So, I like to say that I had laser eye surgery, but I don't have laser eyes. There is a time and place for like all crypto, right? Innovation in itself in this space, it's really, really exciting and really great to see. Um, Ethereum, I say, it's its own thing. I don't think it's necessarily money. I think it is something that we can use to transact and move value between other creators with the NFT space, or uh, whatever, like the ETH, even though it's expensive to move it around, whatever that may be. It is good, especially with smart contracts. Stable coins, although built on Ethereum, most of the cases, um, it's kind of interesting, and we get this question a lot. We do like kind of the concept of stable coins. It's not something that we shy away from. But what happens when you have stable coins and you are in a country, like it could be Trinidad, it could be somewhere in the Caribbean or Africa, and then the US calls back its money, or it decides that it's going to regulate the stable coins in a way that benefits the US but doesn't benefit people outside of this. You're holding money, and this could be even if you're holding US dollars, that some other government is dictating on what your life savings are. Now, the problem is if you, or the great thing is if you have cash and it's under your mattress, they're not really going to be able to do anything. They're going to be like, they'll have to come to your house and like take the cash. But if it's a stable coin, kind of the pro and con is it's digital, and they can say, well, you know what, if any of these stable coins pass through this certain wallet, it doesn't exist anymore. And that could be a user doesn't know all the time where that stable coin has been, right? It could have been with recently like a mixer, like a Tornado Cash or something like that. Um, and there's just a lot more control imposed on them, which is great for the US. That's perfectly fine and very acceptable for them to do, but it poses great risk to people who are just saving and don't quite understand the technology. So regulatory, and we can see it, it's happened a few times where the US government SEC says something about stable coins, you can't use this or you can't do that, or we're going to call it back. And everybody who holds that is just they have to accept those terms and conditions, for lack of a better word. Bitcoin, as we know, has the white paper. The law is the code. It has quite a few elements. I won't go into all of them, but ultimately 21 million. And they're just going to keep going based on how many nodes are on the network. If there's one, if there's many, it's great. It still exists. Um, so it allows like a sense of control. Having it in a cold wallet, it is yours and nobody can take it from you. And I don't see that with stable coins quite yet
For
or ever.
me, yeah, and that's fair. And you brought up the U.S. government a few times, so I want to bring up and talk about governments from your perspective as a form, well, as a political science, major. Do you foresee do you foresee a lot of resistance from governments from these smaller nations, or more resistance from the larger nations?
That is a real fun part of my brain to tickle. I haven't really thought about it like that. So the smaller governments currently, so today, smaller governments, there's no regulations, or if there is, it's going to be very high level. They don't have the resources to quite go into it and understand all of it, which is absolutely fair. So what they end up doing is they would take the similar laws, or they'll try and put this new innovation, whether it be like Bitcoin, I guess, Bitcoin, and apply it to banking laws or trading laws or security laws. But we don't see a lot of that. Generally, it's a gray area. But they're resistant to it in terms of they just don't accept that innovation. So they're not going to encourage it. They're not going to give anybody a grant to say, work on Bitcoin and make our currency better. The bigger governments, I feel like they're they are interested, maybe, or excited about how this can impact them, but that's something that they need to regulate. And whether they're regulating for a good reason, which, protect your consumers, protect your citizens, I get it. We participated in a seizure of somebody scamming somebody way back in 2018. Like, I completely understand protecting, people who are not educated in it. But I do think they might leave room for that innovation. They may see that, this is a powerhouse, and if you can't beat them, join them. With that being said, if you come for them in ways that will cost them money, or to harm their citizens or harm their bank accounts, they're not going to play nice, right? They're going to come down and they're going to make sure that you're doing it either their way or not at all. And their way doesn't always benefit everybody, right? It might benefit a small minority. It might benefit just their citizens. I don't think that's what Bitcoin is about. I feel like Bitcoin is trying to be emotionless, and just continue doing what it's doing.
I'm amazed that no one has still come forward and claimed to be Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin. Maybe that person is dead and that's why, but I feel like it's just exploded in terms of its worth, like that wallet, that first wallet. So if there was a currency that was to be emotionless and purely for the people and not to benefit one specific person or entity, I definitely see Bitcoin being that,
Yeah,
because that the creator is anonymous. Their wallet has not moved, or there has been no activity. So they genuinely, if it was one person or a group of people, that they genuinely built it for the people, as opposed, without necessarily spinning this in a negative way, but our currencies as we know them were built or fundamentally created by a group of people that sat in a governmental or powerful position. And so their interests are ultimately the ones that are being served, not necessarily the general interests of the people, because
right.
the leadership created that currency. So, um, my next question to you now, given these challenges, it's new technology, you have um, um, regulatory issues to navigate. And there's also the issue of educating people. Well, not an issue, but the challenge of educating people, bringing them up to speed on this new technology and how it works. What do you think is the biggest and most complicated challenge to accomplish? Like, of course, all three of them are complicated, but which one is the one that you spend the most time either thinking about or makes you feel like you're stumped and you've got to talk to others to get a solution?
Great. Good question. So I would say that educating and working closely with users today trumps our clients. I call them trumps all. So regulatory is a fast follower. Sometimes people are going to come and break the rules, and then regulatory comes after and says, okay, here's what here's your rules. So we're okay. I'm okay breaking some rules and making sure that I work closely with the government to make sure it's done right. But learning and understanding customers, learning users, how they want to use your product, how they want to understand Bitcoin, how they want to potentially benefit from it is something I'm constantly exploring, and I think is the most challenging, but also the most fun. Because there's always new and different ways people go about solving the problems that they have. It could be duct taped together, it could be very sophisticated, um, but it is something that is ever changing and is different for each individual. I can't paint everybody with the same brush. Of course, when you launch a product, you're hoping that you can catch as many people and it suits the best, like it solves as many problems that they have, no matter how unique. Um, but it is one of my favorite things to do, but it is the puzzle that will always be not quite solved, um, in a good way, in a good way.
I feel like the human challenge with every new or emerging tech, or even large existing tech, and you're trying to find a way to use it in a more efficient way, from everyone that I've interviewed, everyone has said that the most challenging piece is the human element, which isn't a bad thing necessarily. But I feel like in tech, we often spend so much time trying to figure out how to make the tool better. And we don't spend enough time trying to understand the human side and how people will use the tool in the most efficient way or in the best way. So I'm glad that you said that, because especially in the whole Web3 ecosystem, user experience has not necessarily been at the forefront. And it's clunky to set up a wallet, even though now there are services that exist where you can just use your email to get a wallet. There's still a gap in terms of education and onboarding the masses. So it's still really fascinating and interesting to hear that the human piece is what's the most complicated to solve. Now, as head of product at Tomorrow, what are you doing to figure out what the answer is? And have you even figured out what that answer looks like?
So thank you. Well said. The As head of product, I think I'm definitely not a coder, although I definitely should become one. My main goal is to make sure that what we release, the features, and the way we talk about it, the way we introduce it to our users, makes sense for them and their own problems, um, and what they're looking for. The important thing is um, making it create a sense of familiarity, but also pushing what they expect as norm in the two places. So they're almost like two levers. There we go. Levers. They're almost like two levels that you can dial between, okay, here's where we can challenge them a little bit. This is where, I want them to be thinking a little bit differently. No, we don't have dollar because we don't, there's Bitcoin on there. When you're holding it, you see your Bitcoin amount. But at the same time, okay, when I'm sending $20 to my friend because they paid for movie tickets and I just need to send it over to them, I'm not going to want to calculate, how many Bitcoin or how many Satoshis that's going to be. I'm just going to want to send $20 and move on with my day. Um, it's a matter of balancing the two and making sure that one, you show them the technology. It's not all hidden away where they're not quite understanding what's going on. But at the same time, it still needs to feel like magic. It still needs to feel like, wow, it is this easy to use Bitcoin. I'm actually surprised versus, oh, this is a little too complicated. I'm not going to do it. Maybe next time. Um, Lots of different dials to move.
In addition to the challenge of transferring money from person A in Canada and person B in Trinidad, for example, what are some of the challenges that cryptocurrencies solve, and how are those solutions going to change society?
Good question. So the biggest challenge I would say with fiat today is that it's slow, expensive, and really inconvenient. Um, if I want to send money down to whoever outside of Canada, even the US, I need to be familiar with a wire. I need to be familiar with something like Western Union, or I need to give somebody cash here and they take it down and they give it to them. So there's many ways to do it, but it's not necessarily the easiest way. And of course, there are companies that exist on the fiat rails, as I would call them, that make it easier. And maybe I can connect my bank account and send it from my phone. But ultimately, I'm either paying a premium for it to move fast. I'm either, moving really slow, but it's very cheap, or it's really inconvenient. So I'm only going to really send big amounts. And like, that's kind of the end of it. What I think crypto and Bitcoin in this case, but most crypto would solve this, is that it could be fast, it could be cheap, and it could be easy. And I don't mean cheap as in it's not a great experience, but cheap as in more money is staying in my hand than the receiver's hand. Fast because we're building on the Lightning Network, and if you've ever used a Lightning Network before, it's faster than really a thought could be done. As soon as I want to send it over, it's there. Cheap because it doesn't cost a lot to move. Now, of course, the argument with Ethereum is it's very expensive sometimes because of gas prices, but with Bitcoin, so far so good. And then convenient. So because it's digital first, because this is something that you can send over phone, and then the most importantly, the receiver gets to choose whether they keep it in Bitcoin or they convert it to cash and pick it up from an ATM. Um, as much as I would love to deliver them cash, they can go and pick it up, hopefully at a spot that would be easy for them to reach. Um, so crypto, sending, and we like to say this is something new that we're saying. We call them happy little money moments, where I'm sending celebratory money or I'm sending to pay vendors for maybe an event that I'm going to be hosting in the future, or whatever it may be. I don't have to have this keep track of all the steps it is to send that money over. I send it on my app, and I'm done. Um, just to make it exciting and participate in the communities back, quote unquote, home.
So the fintech industry is evolving. Um, what emerging tech trends do you believe will have the most significant impact on the future of finance?
Future finance. So definitely crypto. It is moving value from one or another. Very, very easy to see that. We've already had a lot of impact. I would say that money has exited officially, or value has exited officially from the current systems that we have, and are staying in Bitcoin, or they're staying in there, whether for good or for bad reasons. It's moved. So that's a big impact, and I definitely know banks are paying attention to it. But on the other side, we have artificial intelligence coming in, and that has a lot to do with data and kind of understanding where people and what are the motivations for them, and why they move the money or why they're putting it in this. And it's kind of interesting to see those two things come hand in hand. I don't really have any specific examples, just readings that I've done where, you know, crypto plus AI has really kind of stood up against the old institutions to say, listen, we're going to do it faster. We're going to do it with computers. We're going to do it with, like people or systems that are going to make the decisions faster than your PDF. So either get ready and jump in with us, or we're going to continue and go ahead without it. And that's going to be very, very exciting. I don't know exactly where it's going to take us, but I'm happy to be a part of it.
We're moving from a place where we're trusting people and an institution. I feel in fintech and Web3, we're moving from a place where we're trusting institutions like the traditional bank to now saying we should trust code, like
Yes.
Bitcoin, right? How how big of a shift is that for people? Do you think that that's something that people are going to be able to do easily, or is that something that's going to require a lot of education or a lot of um, materials being sent so that people can understand that the code is actually easier to trust than, or it's better to trust code than to trust this large institution that has existed for hundreds of years?
It's a very big leap for them to do. It's almost impossible to ask somebody to do that, when they may not interface with a computer, or they may not interface with code all the time. A lot of times when I talk about Bitcoin to people who would benefit this product, their first instinct is to say, no, I'm not going to invest in it. I'm like, well, we're not even investing. Let me talk to you a little bit about it. Um, I would say that it has to be a mix of both. I would say that, asking them to give up their trust in an institution that's done right by them, majority of them for the majority of their lives, is not something that I want to ask them to do, but rather to work alongside, and say, listen, this is a technology and this is where it can help you. And you don't have to have full trust in it, because there's going to be a third party, there's going to be regulatory, there's going to be certain standards that we need to meet in order for you to transact with us. The issue, and I've seen it a few times, is that, well, one, maybe either end of them, either they put too much money in a coin that is gone, has ceased to exist, or all their money was in a pension and that pension blew up for whatever reason. And both of those ends, they're always like, I want to find another way, and they go to the extreme other side. So that pension person went all in on crypto, and that crypto person was never going to touch crypto again. And that is fair. I understand you got burned by whatever entity it was. Um, why can't there be that huge institution working alongside the crypto and say, listen, these people come in, they don't know exactly what they're doing. Let's make sure that we put some protections in place so they know. And we're seeing brushes. We're seeing like quick people move quickly. And so you get, like, when you open up your apps these days, it's like, okay, you need to do KYC and you need to do this. And there's a surface level of protection on it. And I think that's all that we can do as of right now, just at the speed that technology is going at. But I hope and I'm pushing for, and I hopefully tomorrow is a part of this, where the protections and the understanding is made deep within those products, is made deep within the code. So when a product is launched, it's not about capitalizing on FOMO. It's not capitalizing on that fear of like, oh, if I don't put in my money now, I'm going to miss out on a big thing. And instead, it's like, okay, this is my money. This is like my life savings. I can now assess the risk. I can choose the amount of risk each dollar goes into or each piece of value and go from there. So it is a happy medium. I won't say that we've reached it yet, but that's something I would love to see.
Are you seeing a lot of interest from institutions and governments to work with you or others?
Institutions that want to work with us, I have not that I haven't tried because I've talked to them and they're all very interested. Like I mentioned earlier, since we're fundraising, we're talking to they work in the fiat world, and those who see the visions, those who know, and they get it, and they're very very excited about it. And there has always been a lot of curiosity. I think our previous startup was insurance. It was in the insurance world and it was about working with these institutions. So we had a little bit of a reputational bump up where they said, okay, well, we know you and we know that kind of what you want to do and why it's exciting. So we're willing to kind of work with you here. Um, but it's coming. They understand that it's a wave, and if they don't understand it at some point, then they're going to get lost in sea. So we're here, and so far so good.
Because you mentioned raising, I'm curious to know your perspective or how it's been for you. Um, so there was the whole ICO craze in 2018, 2019, and then
Mhm.
2020, 2021 was the NFT craze. And so, any company that said crypto or any startup that said crypto or NFT, they were going to get a lot of money. Now it's
Mhm.
AI. So how has it been for you to raise money in 2023 in a project where A, it's not really AI related, and B, there's a lot of people that feel like they've been burnt or that have actually been burnt,
Mhm.
and they feel that crypto is just too volatile, too risky. How do you go about raising money or acquiring partners? Not acquiring in the sense of like acquisition, but just getting people to be partners in this project.
The funny thing is, I mean, when AI started going crazy, they're like, "So can you put AI in SAP?" And I was like, "We could. It's not something that won't exist, but we're not going to do it right now." But the interesting thing has been those who have been following crypto and Bitcoin. It is very much something that I don't think they wavered in terms of excitement. I think that this is something that they were like, we don't know exactly how the players are going to win, whether it'll be a wallet, whether it'll be about remittance, whether it'll be something like tomorrow or something that we all haven't thought about before. But we still want to see Bitcoin exist. We still want to see what we call digital money or digital value um, take its place in the world as technology. And of course, there's always the hype cycle. So there's the extreme excitement. I remember at one point, an iced tea company put blockchain in their marketing, and they exploded. I thought that was hilarious. Um, but once it's simmered down, you kind of see who is there to build this technology and really make an impact, and what are the ways that makes an impact. And that's been the challenge, right? So it's not just fiat in, Bitcoin rises to a price, and I take that money out, but how do I really use this technology a way to democratize value, and the way that the internet democratized communication? What does that look like? Right. So it's very similar to the .com, pets.com, how expensive that was and what ended up going from there. I think crypto and by extension, Bitcoin is going to be similar. Um, but I mean, all the VCs that are on board, they've been fantastic. They see the vision. They're very, very excited about it. And even the ones that pass, it's mostly because we're moving a little too fast, or they're not quite ready. But all of them do see a vision there.
So what I'm hearing is that you have identified an actual need and developed a value proposition, and you're going to VCs and partners with that value proposition. You're not just saying, "Hey, we're building something on the blockchain."
Right, right. Yeah, I think for us, it's product and problem first, and then what is the right technology to solve that problem. Uh, Thankfully, they came very closely together because we had the problem and we already knew about the technology. But yes. coming with a problem in like a, a way that, we want to solve it first and then applying that afterwards. It also opens up the door for different solutions.
Yeah, be exactly. Instead of using the technology as the solution, you're creating a solution that just happens to use this new technology
You got it.
called blockchain.
Yeah.
And I think that that's how we're going to be. That's how companies are going to create lasting impact for people, because we're specifically addressing a problem and we're using technology to address it. We're not just saying, "Hey, let's create this new tool and then find a problem and then hope that we get product market fit and hope to make money,"
Oh
which I
man,
think is what a
hoping.
lot of yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hoping to find product market fit is always a challenge. I hope we're not just hoping. I hope that we have some good evidence to do it. Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I had told you that my father's from Trinidad, and we have family there, and he had shared with me. My father shared with me about just the process of sending money from Canada to Trinidad, and when he was talking to me, I was like, Bitcoin would solve that problem, and this was about
Yeah.
a year ago. I would say we had
No
that
way.
conversation. So,
Nice.
it's the people who know or have sent money abroad know that there needs to be a
Right.
better way. So
That's
I'm
good.
as a potential user, I'm confident that you'll find product market fit.
That is awesome to hear. That is awesome. I am happy to hear that.
And so one thing that crypto does well is it creates, or I'm generalizing, but it creates a layer of anonymity and
Mhm.
on some level, right? I mean, obviously you can backtrack because it's on the blockchain. You can figure out at the end of the day who is maybe making those transactions, but unless you do that digging, there is a layer of anonymity when you're making transactions, and those are being recorded on the blockchain. But given that now you're proposing this solution to send money from person A in Canada, person B to Trinidad, for example, how are you addressing the privacy issue if all of these transactions are going to be recorded on the blockchain? I might not want the world to see that I sent $100 to someone abroad. So how do I make sure that that is not being displayed for the public to see?
Broadcasted. How can
Yeah,
they who's watching me and I don't want them to watch me. So
exactly.
there's actually a really interesting, this is a good problem that we thought about solving. So I mentioned that we have two different accounts, one being the cash account and one being primary slash savings. And there's also going to be a third account, but I won't talk about that one. So the primary account is very privacy preserving. So this is not somewhere where you're doing a lot of transactions. You're mostly doing transactions with yourself. So when I get my Bitcoin in, I'm sending it to my primary account and it's sitting there and nobody really sees a lot of in and outs from there. And then the other end, there's the cash account, which is, it actually has a username. So it'll be at Alexandra, it'll be, at Nick or whatever it was. And that one I can display as I see fit, or like it could just be among my friends and family. I actually thought of a fun idea where maybe there's a public timeline and people can like hit, I want to post this on like timeline.tomorrow.so, and you can see like, oh, this person supported, I don't know, like a graduation, or this person contributed to charity. But privacy is something that's very important to us. And that's what we kind of add those different accounts so people are familiar. So you got your like your cash account or your e-transfer account, if you want to call it, where people can see it coming in and out. And if they really wanted to do the work, they can track, okay, this wallet address, and they're sending to all these wallet addresses. But then there's another one that's more private, and it's really just about you and your savings. And that one, nobody has access to unless you share your private key or your public key. And that is going to be on your choice.
Okay, so you have the option, or you are providing a solution to people that enables them to conduct transactions privately, or at least send money privately.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
And
awesome.
they will have some options. They don't always have to use. I mean, ideally, I want them to use the Tomorrow app, but if they want to come off of it and they want to, preserve their privacy for whatever reason, there's many other options to transact with Bitcoin. So I'm always going to encourage that.
Financial education and financial literacy are important topics, I think, to discuss. And as we're talking about money and digital money, um, there's a new layer of financial literacy education that needs to happen. So, how can Bitcoin, or how do we educate people uh, around financial literacy, and more specifically, how do we educate people around the soundness of Bitcoin, it's what it can deliver, what it can do, and also maybe some of the downsides of it, so that people are aware of the type of money they're using and they know how to use it properly. How do we navigate, you know, educating people around Bitcoin and financial literacy of digital money?
Good. Yeah, that one is a challenge that I'm excited to solve. I wouldn't say I've solved it quite yet. And you have your normal, your blog post, your, people can go and explore it on their own. But I always see that learn by doing is the best teacher. So we've made very specific decisions in the app where they can understand how their money is transformed into, I mean, Satoshis at this point, and distributed among the Lightning Network. And a lot of it is, you're going to start with a small amount, because what I would like to offer is like a 30-day money back guarantee where, for 30 days, just try Bitcoin and see if this is something that you're up to. And if not, then we're just going to give you back your money, regardless of the price of Bitcoin. Um, but try it out with a small amount. If you fail, if you lose it, or if something goes wrong, you're not necessarily disturbed, but you're experimenting. Where we have different interactions where you send it to somebody that you know, or you can interface with a Tomorrow person like me. I wouldn't say it's me, but like, hey, I will send them 5 Satoshis and just say, look how easy it was. Um, what happened behind the scenes is X, Y, and Z, and you can read a little bit more about it here. But I will always encourage them to say, well, go and try and send it, or invite your mom, which is kind of my ideal scenario. Invite my mom and say, hey, look, mom, I'm sending you $10 in Bitcoin. Um, Go download this app, and like you can see that $10 is there. Um, I don't, there's the self-learners, YouTube, blog post, TikTok, whatever it is. And I mean, they're going to do really, really well. I think a lot of it's going to come down to Bitcoin advocates. Maybe you, definitely me, who are going to go and say, hey, this is the right app to download. This one is the one that's not going to make you buy all sorts of coins and lose your money. They really just want you to own and bank with Bitcoin to the risk level that you're comfortable with. Anything more than that, you wait till you get more comfortable with it. They're not going to try and force you to do anything you don't want to do.
So people essentially we need to find a way to get people to try it. It's more of a try by doing, learn by doing situation
Mhm.
in order to really understand and see. Because I think something that many people don't know or realize is when we go to a store and we buy something and we put our credit card, and let's say it costs $10. At $10 we see okay, approved. We know that $10 left my bank account and is going to go to the merchant's account. But in reality, it takes a couple days for the money to actually transfer. And what
Mhm.
Bitcoin is solving, or what Bitcoin is doing, is enabling the money to automatically be available in the bank account of the recipient, not for it to display that it's available, but then wait 2 to 5 business days. And I think that is something that once people see it on their phones and do it and then experience it, then they'll quickly realize that there's something worth exploring with cryptocurrency, and more specifically Bitcoin, and even more specifically tomorrow.
It's like turtles all the way down. I
Yeah.
agree. Yes, yes. That is our mission, our vision is that the technology is there. It just needs a better way to use it. It needs to be a little bit more user friendly, but also provide that value in ways that people are used to. So, in total, hopefully the Bitcoiners of tomorrow will come and join tomorrow.
As a serial entrepreneur, I could call you a serial entrepreneur.
Sure.
You've at least you've done a couple startups, so
A few.
I
Yeah,
think you
yeah.
fall in. Yeah, yeah. You fall in the category. What would be some advice that you would share with other entrepreneurs who are building something in the Web3 space, given that the issues that they're going to face are regulatory gray zones, um, um, adversity when it comes to people saying, "Why are you building? Like, why Web3?" And just the technical challenges that they're going to overcome. How do you motivate, or what advice would you give to someone who's thinking about either starting a Web3 related company or is in the process of building something?
So how I motivate myself, and hopefully this helps motivate somebody, is what is your reason for doing this? Now, if it's because you're excited about the technology and you really want to see something exist in this world, I think that is fantastic. And remind yourself of that every single day on what drives you and why it's going to have an impact, not just on your life, but maybe the five people around you and then grow from there. It doesn't have to start with that million people who are going to love it, but like that five people who are going to be advocates and the champions of it. Why are you building it for them? The second thing that I do, and I think is really has been really good advice for myself, is forget about the process and sometimes just do. A lot of people like to build, and it could be in Web3, it could be any startup that it is, where they have, first I do this, then I do this, then I do this, and then I will build. Forget about all of that. Build, build, and then send out to the world. And it's going to be chaotic. It's going to be messy, but that's okay because part of startups is chaos. Part of it is growing to the point where you're like, holy crap, this thing has product market fit and like everybody loves it. And I'm very, very excited. Um, Live in that chaos, be okay with it because when you find that drive within yourself, like I mentioned earlier, that chaos is really, really fun. So that is my advice. I think that's fun. I think I'd like to hear that.
That was great advice. That's awesome. And finally, what's your vision for the future? Assuming that everything that you're trying to bring into the world comes true, what would our society look like?
The vision of the future for tomorrow, and I think for myself as well, is we um, we want a closer community. We come from many different places, especially here in Canada. We come from all sorts of walks of life, a lot of them in different countries. But our geography or where we were born shouldn't dictate the financial future that we have or the financial experience that we have. Having the same experience for everyone, everywhere, I think is something to really be admired and something to drive through. Where no matter where I was born, I have that same opportunity as anybody else. Not only to have good finances and a good way to manage my money, but also the opportunity to use that and participate in different communities. Whether it be, as I said today, like participating back home or participating somewhere that might be my potential home. Borderless money is the way to go, especially as we, one, become smaller and more connected, but as we also grow.
Alexandra, thank you so much for your time. I think this was an awesome conversation, and I think our audience is really going to enjoy this. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.